Hey, you wood turners, I'm Captain Eddie Castle and welcome to my shop. This should really be a little closed circuit session just for folks getting into carbide tools. When I sell carbide tools and Blackhawk tools, Big Guy Productions, me, management, when we sell tools, we're selling tools to wood turners. They're not going retail outlets. They don't come with a pretty plastic sleeve. They don't come with wood handles and all that. This is for you. Your option is to pay about $20, $25 for a bar and about $8 for a cutter and get into carbide cutting, or spend $139 and really get into carbide cutting. I think the lesser option is best for most guys. So I'm going to explain to you what you get when you purchase from Big Guy Production. What do we send you? What do you have to do with it to get turning? And what will it do? I hear from guys all the time, this isn't this, and this isn't that, and this isn't this. This isn't a $139 tool. It's something geared just for you to get started with. So if you'd like to know more, all you got to do, watch. When you buy one of our tools, whether it be off of www.eddiecastelin.com, this address right here, or you give me a call and you order over the telephone at that phone number, or you sneak in and grab one, which I'm watching for, okay, you will receive a steel bar, drilled, tapped, pocketed, 4 cutters. You'll receive the cutters you ordered in a bag. It will not be together because to ship it that way means it's coming out the box and going to damage somebody. So they're not together. First thing you have to do is decide what you want to cut with it. I'm going to show you cutting on a block in a minute. But let's say we're going to go for the square cutter. Okay, let's mount a square cutter. Now don't get ahead of me. You're going to say, wait a minute, you're going to mount a cutter before you put a handle on it? I'm going to show you something. That's what this is all about. Now, that seat, that notch, that groove, that davit, whatever you want to call it, is oversized. So when you put a cutter on it, that cutter's not going to fit all the way to the back of that pocket and square up. Why is it like that? Because this pocket will hold the square, the radius squared, the round, and the triangle. They'll all fit on that same spot. So what do we do about this? Well, we put the cutter in place. We're using 1024 stainless steel 18/8 screws, and then we tighten it up to the alignment we want. Now you see, I didn't over tighten it. I just tightened it and got it to the alignment I want. I can actually move it a little bit. And then, here's the magic part. I'm going to roll it over, and that is a drop of CA glue. Now that CA glue is going to migrate down in there and cause a little bit of friction between the two. Okay? This is super thin CA, so it sets up really fast. And then I'm going to retighten that screw, or I'm going to finally tighten it and snug it up. Okay. Now that cutter is mounted. The glue is going to set up. Now what do I do when I want to change that cutter? Yeah, I know you're saying, but you put it in there with glue. I'm going to take it out with my little cigarette lighter thingy. Well, it's not cigarette in this shop, it's for the barbecue pit. But I'm going to warm it up slightly and move it when I want to rotate it. Now I don't have to clean off all the glue. The glue that's residual is going to help it sit back in place again. But that will save you from having to buy a bar for each one of your cutters until you find out what you want to do. Now, if you have multiple bars, multiple cutters, and you want a custom fit, You can regrind the end of the bar and make it and change the seat or add a seat or whatever, or take a file to it. It's mild steel. All right, now you have got a square cutter on an 11-inch bar, and this can be used to make your handle. Let's talk about that. This configuration figures that you do not have any other turning tools at all. You put a block of wood for a handle. It's 1.5 by 1.5 or so. And I'd rather go long and cut it off than go short and throw it away. Okay? So, we put it in there. Now let me show you what I have. I've got that cutter. You saw us mounted a little while ago. This is the 11-inch bar. That's some electrical tape wrapped around the end of it so it doesn't put a hole in my hand. And this is what I'm going to start roughing this in with. It will bite. Make sure your tool rest is up there. Here's the caution. You don't want to be sticking way over the tool rest because you're going to lose your leverage. You benefit your leverage. So you take shortcuts and you move your rest. And also, speed helps a little bit, so let's kick the speed to about 600 RPMs. And keep your steady rest up tight. Now, rough in your handle. Get it roughed in all the way along. Make sure you kind of like what it is. Here's the deal. This is the head, or the end, or the tip, or the front of the handle. That's the ass end, okay? Front, back, front, back. Now, up here, knock the outsides off, got it round. I want to make it into a handle. What do I make the handle look like? I make the handle look like one of my favorite tools. So I pick up one and say, okay, that's going to pretty much be exactly what I want. I want a nice long handle where I have a full 8 inches sticking out here in the front. I'm going to get a pipe compression fitting for a furrow. I'm going to put a nice coat of paint on it. And this little bump right here keeps me from sliding my hand too far forward. And the one in the back lets me know I'm getting close to the end of it. I got no other magic in this. Don't think you really need a lot of magic in a handle. You know, all those double sets and all that stuff, you'd be surprised how restrictive they become. Because sometimes you want to hold it up here in a choke up, and sometimes you want to ease back. Do you want to lock that in to say, I'm only going to be here and I'm only going to be here? No, not really. So let's get flexible. Okay? Now, with that, we're going to put a hole in here, and we're going to do it on a lathe. Now, if you can't do it on a lathe, I'll show you a gizmo. Now, I can't go to the drill press and show you because it's set for something else, and I'm not breaking that down today. This is a regular Jorgensen clamp. You can get an off-brand, an offshoot of it at Harbor Freight, Home Depot, Lowe's, half a dozen other places. And keep in mind, you can never, ever have too many clamps. Now, when you get the clamp, all you want to do with it is close it down tight and then drill yourself a hole right dead center of the two jaws. So you're off a little bit. That really won't matter. What's going to happen is this becomes your edge of clamp for your drill press. Then you can take your handle. You've got a handle roughed in. All right. You're going to set it in this, tighten it down and hold it. And this is going to hold it off the edge of your drill press table so you can drill through that end, because you probably don't have enough throat on your drill press in a way to hold something close to the bit to where you can drill it. So we're going to grab it. That's what the two grooves are for. So we get this neck down enough. All right. This is a really handy thing for drilling pen blanks, pen sleeves too. All right. You hold it like this. You hang it off the side of the drill press table. You make sure the table's square to the drill press, and then you drill the hole. What hole? Huh. Thought you'd ask that. When you get the tool from me, the end will be square. And I put this tape on it so I could handle it a minute ago. But all you will receive is a square steel bar in the standard kits. So, how do you drill a square hole? You really don't. Now, you can take this and put it into a 5/8 inch hole by drilling a 5/8 hole in your piece. You can bring the size down to about a 9/16 just by knocking the corners off. Take it over to your grinder and your belt sander. That's a 5/8. That's 9/16. I could get it in there real easy. And I can put it in a 9/16 hole. Do I want to make it absolutely round so it fits into a 1/2 inch hole? Not really. Why? Because you don't need to. I mean, it's a toolbar. Unless you're doing brain surgery with it, no, don't worry about it. Knock the corners off, and then you can slide it into the hole with some epoxy. And remember, the epoxy needs to be in the bottom of the hole. We'll talk about that. So, we're going to drill a hole. In this one, we're going to drill a 5/8 hole, and we're going to make it 3 inches deep. No less than 3, because that gives us 8 hanging out. That's still a whole lot hanging out, but it gives you some versatility. When I say 8 hanging out, 8 out of the handle, which doesn't mean you'd be 8 over the tool rest. Whew, that would be a lot. So, we're going to drill a hole. We've got the 5/8 inch bit. We have it in our drill bit, and I'm going to just back the steady rest, the center off, come back up and go right back in the pocket that we were centering it up with. That's going to give it this exact location for the center, and then slowly, without generating a ton of heat, we're going to go ahead and drill that hole. Now, generating a ton of heat. Forcing the bits inherently clog up a little bit. But you're cutting in grain, it shouldn't clog up too bad. But if you overheat that, see the smoke coming off? If you overheat it, you're going to have a bigger chance, a greater chance, of having that wood pop later on. The handle crack or split. So take your time, go in and out a handful of times, clean it out. Make sure it's a good hole. It's a good 3+ inches deep, 3+, and then you're home free. Now, after the hole's drilled, we're going to use the hole with our center. That's what we're going to do. There it is, right there. Put that in the center. So then we can put the receiver in to put our furrow on and shape this end of the handle out. Yeah, this end of the handle. And then we're going to turn it around, put a piece of 5/8 or 3/4 material down here, turn it around, and finish out the back half. I have a complete video on making tool handles. Check out that video for more details. Now let's get back to the tool. Okay, run it down the list now, the checklist. The next thing I hear from guys and gals when they get this tool is, it won't cut. That's a hard one to believe. Now, let me explain that. A perfect fit of a cutter looks like that at the end. You see how the steel drops away from the bevel on the back of the cutter? Now, if you take a close look at how this works, that's really not that critical. Okay? So let me move you to where you can see exactly what happens, and then you'll understand that really can just be a big blob of steel sticking out there, as long as I can get that cutter to the wood. and where I get that cutter to the wood. See that line? Well, of course you see the line. You're looking right at it. That line happens to be dead center of my steady rep and my headstock. Dead center. I drew that line on here. I have it locked down so I can show you that line. Now, that is the cutting point for carbide tools. You see that? That's where that tool cuts. Now, if there's a little blob of steel straight out from beneath the edge of that cutter right there, straight out from it, that won't matter, because see that blade making contact? That is what you're looking for. Now watch this. Speed 600. That's what you're looking for. Now, if you're riding high, let's say we leave our tool rest up where it normally is. That'd be about where my tool rest normally is. Do you see the problem? Do you see the contact? That's not going to cut. You need to get that tool rest down to where that cutter attacks that wood just about dead center. This is not for slicing. It's not for rodding a bevel. It is for a straight in cut. Now, if you have a round cutter on it, you want to make a nice, that'll work, but that also needs to be down around center. Now, with that in mind, you've just set up your square cutter, put it in a bar, you put a handle on the end of it, and you're about ready to go cutting. Now, if you wonder what the noise is, it's the middle of February in the year 2014, and while the northern, everything above the Mason-Dixon line is frozen solid, we're cutting grass in South Louisiana. So I get asked all the time, what cutters are best for what? So here's the deal. If you're doing spindle work, like making this handle, I really wouldn't pick the square cutter after I have the furrow done. I'd switch off to radius square. Why? The square does not go back and forth very nicely on dressing up an edge or the outside. Why? It cuts on the corners. I'd go to a radius square. Much easier to control. Now, the next one is, what about the round cutters? The round cutters work really good to shape up any kind of curve, surface, or such, and to hollow out things. I mean, I can show. In fact, I don't want to tell you about it. I'm going to put a bowl blank in and show you what it'll do to a bowl blank. What I have here is a piece of poplar. You can see it. I'm going to have cross grain in this like crazy. If I'm going to start roughing this in, common thing. I am going to bring up my tailstock, lock it in place to support the piece. Even though I'm on a screw over here, I'm going to bring it up and put it between centers. I like turning between centers. I really do. I'm going to go for the radius square cutter. All right. I've got my tool rest at the right spot because that's going to give me about the center. Speed's going to be 600 RPMs. That'll get my outside shaped up. This being the bottom, I want to get rid of this corner. That's what we're going to do next. Realign my tool rest, get me into a spot and make some passing cuts. I around the curve with this radius square. It's almost impossible with a regular square. But if I needed to get a whole bunch of wood off of this thing, like I'd like to do right now, I would get my square and just go and plunge cut. Now, why did I only take little 1/4-inch cuts when I went in there? Because if I juke this 14-inch cutter in there, 14mm cutter in there, it'll take a 14mm cut. That's a whole lot of wood coming out at one time. And I really don't want that. So, with this, I would just take out passes. It's razor sharp. If you're in a speed thing, join marathons. Otherwise, be safe. Just make the plows, get it in. You get rid of some wood, then go back to your radius or to your round. And take it to the shape you want. I can do the same thing on shaping it with a round cutter. I really can. But you only have so many tools and so many bits chucked up at one time. Make the most of them. Now, other comments I've heard about the tools, they're not detailed out enough. 220 grit sandpaper. Oh, that feels nice. Didn't do anything for the tool, but oh, it feels nice. Next, will it rust? Sure to rust. Almost all metals have some degree of deterioration exposed to moisture. Most metals. What do? A little bit of wax, a little bit of oil, a little bit of pledge. I did say pledge. A little bit of pledge, all helps. Me, in my shop, it's this canola oil PAM spray. I use it for all drilling and tapping operations and stuff, and it really migrates to a lot of things. It's a great anti-rust also because it leaves a little bit of a coating behind. Once you start working with it, you understand, you never get it all off. But if you need to have the tool detailed out nicer, sand it, polish it. Next, when I go down the side of a box, the bar touches. I've got a fix for that. Go talk to the guy that owns that tool. You go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and say, hey, why don't I just relieve the side of that tool? See that? See how that's relieved? Then when I go down the inside of a box, that side doesn't rub on the side of the box. Still have to have the weight of the bar there to carry the cutter to keep it vibrating, but it's your tool. Fine tune it for your use. And finally, what if you're just not happy with what you received? Here's the deal. Put everything you received back in a box. Mail it back to me. I will give you 100% credit on the tools. I can't credit you on the shipping. I'm out that. But I'll give you credit for the tools. How? I'll mail you a check. I'll refund your credit card. I'll repay you on PayPal. I'll do what I have to satisfy our deal. Okay? But we've made about 5,000 bars in the last couple of years. We've only had 4 come back. And one guy, after he returned his 2, he told me he only ordered the bars so he could see how they're made, so he can make them for his friends and his family and his club members. What are you going to do? It's people. I wouldn't be in this if I didn't trust wood turners, and there's a sly one or two amongst you. So if you have any problems, you can always give me a call. Again, it's that number right there. No, it's It's nice how that shows up, huh? Look. Or you can email me at this email address, eddiecastelon@cox.net, and I'll be glad to help you if I can. Otherwise, what I'd like you to do right now is take what you've got and get into the shop and start making shavings. See you later. Take care. Ooh, just about the time you thought you got rid of me, huh? Just about the time you thought you got rid of me. You know what those tools are really good for doing? Freedom pens. That's right. Carbide tools turn freedom pens. Wood turners turn freedom pens. Freedom pens turn that frown upside down for our troops. So if you're not into freedom pens and you're into turning pens, or want to get into turning pens, and you want to get into turning freedom pens, and you want to be part of the group that makes a difference, all you have to do is email me at this address. I'll put you in touch with the Sarge, and you too can be turning freedom pens. Thanks. I'm looking for you. Come on, get out there, start spinning some wood.